It's funny, right? How the present can erase the past. Because in high school, I was, okay, I mean, looking back, I realized I was like 300 times less hideous than I thought. But at the time, I could have paid someone to date me. I don't know, maybe the boys could smell it on me back then. You know, the fact that I felt like one of those people in a Picasso painting. Circular shapes all pushed together with jagged edges. I know, nothing quite matched, nothing fit. Like my skin didn't fit. It was like wearing a bad turtleneck every day. Anyway, you know, college was gonna be different. Not different like one of those girls you meet at a freshman mixer as the bisexual pothead Spichelli Hansen who swears by dreadlocks and Zen Buddhism and makes you wish that you were creative enough to have like a cool identity with a piercing to match, only to discover by midterms that her real name is Ashley and she spent the entirety of high school dating the captain of the football team and moonlighting as prom queen. No. I wanted to be myself. Just not my nerdy, ugly duckling self. Yeah. So, right, so first week of class, we had this freshman sex ed dorm info thing, whatever, and there's this girl there, Belinda, or whatever, and, you know, she looks like a girl, but when the RA started asking questions, like, you know, like, does anyone buy their own condoms? Who masturbates? She answers all of them with, like, balls. You know, leaning back in her chair, straightforward, matter-of-fact tone as she smokes a Marlboro Red. And I am sure that I am the only virgin in the room, but the way everyone looks at her is like she knows about something the rest of us don't. And that gave her power. And that's what I wanted. That power. So I figured the easiest way to get it was to do it. Have sex. I just like wanted to get it over with. I didn't really care if I liked the guy that much. I just wanted to be able to talk about it the next day. The first time was with this guy from my dorm, Harvey Billings. He was an econ major from Florida. He had frosted tips. Yeah, and he wore like a shit ton of hemp jewelry. We drank vodka out of a plastic bottle and did it with his backlight on. And I mean, the whole event was just not much of an event. Then there was Jeff Twan from Toledo, Christopher Bilksvin, who had a 4-foot bong, the French guy on the 5th floor, an RA from another dorm, Jack somebody who didn't even go to my school, a theater major whose name I cannot remember. The list goes on and on and on. And I mean, the whole thing was surprisingly easy. Most were random hookups, same scenario, you know. There's a party at some apartment and you're drunk off of like grain alcohol punch served from one of those like McDonald's coolers. And then he passes you a joint. Oh, and then he asks about your major. And, you talk about classes and you dance and make out and you go back to his place, have sex, but you try to be quiet so as not to wake the roommate who was asleep on the bottom bunk. And then you spoon because, it's the appropriate thing to do. And then the next morning, you, along with hundreds of others, make the walk of shame back to your place across campus. Oh, but that's what college is all about, right? Yeah, well, sort of. So anyway, back to the freshman sex ed thing. Turns out, by sophomore year, most of us had well surpassed Belinda, and her maturity was now the norm. The difference came in the way that you presented what you did. See, I hung out with mostly guys, so yeah, when the boys talked about fucking, they were frank, they were full of detail, often nonchalant about the outcome, and so that's how I talked, all nonchalant. But I am not a boy, and girls being blasé about bedroom activities. I mean, even if you've only fucked 6 people, everyone assumes you fucked like 60. So Devin, he was one of the guys I hung out with. And for the first 3 years, I didn't really know much about him besides his major, history, and his girlfriend, Janine, which is actually how we met. Not through her, but when she dumped him. It was, she fucking crushed him. I mean, Devin was one of those sensitive guys, I guess. I don't know, he wore a lot of Guatemalan sweaters. And when after she dumped him, I found him sitting on the steps outside the registrar crying, which, I don't know, has always weirded me out when guys cry. I mean, okay, I guess I don't cry that much, so it's just weird. It's just weird. Anyway, I told him I had my roommate's car and we could go for a drive down Lake Shore. And the blackness of the lake and the lights of the Miracle Mile, that always makes me feel better. We opened the sunroof and listened to the Rolling Stones, and he apologized for being such a pussy, and I told him it was cool, and he said that he still loved her, but she didn't love him back, and he asked if I would keep all this a secret, and I said yes. And then we sat in silence. A good silence, the kind you can breathe really deeply in. That whole incident kind of made us officially friends. Good friends. The kind who are unabridged. Yeah, unabridged. Binding bent, pages dog ears, the parts you keep to yourself, the parts that you don't let anyone see for fear that they might laugh. I let him see because I felt safe with Devin. I mean, God, he read Tim O'Brien and Sylvia Plath, and he smoked pot and had fucked random people, and he grew up in like some shit suburb where his parents didn't really like each other and no one ever really understood him. Devin made me feel at home. I mean, even at home, you rarely feel at home, right? Shit, if he cried in front of me. So, obviously, I developed, feelings, like way beyond fucking run feelings, which is normally how I felt about guys. But it never really came to fruition, so he got over Janine, but then he moved on to Emma, this sorority girl who he bitched about like she was a fucking ball and chain. And even though we didn't really hang out as much, we were still tight. Right, so I had this party at my place. We all dressed up, candlelight, blah, blah, blah. And Devin's girlfriend is sick, so she didn't show. And I'm wearing a dress the size of a dish rag. And Devin corners me. He's drunk on Jack Daniels outside my room with a cigarette behind his ear. Tells me how pretty I am, how I'm the prettiest in the room, And I laugh and tell him he's stupid. And then he pushes me into my room and kisses me hard on the lips, and I push him away and I say, what the fuck are you doing? And he smiles. Like I know. Like I expect it. And look, I'm not gonna fucking lie, it felt nice. But, I didn't want this to be the way that we found each other. With him, I guess I wanted sex to mean something. For once. Which is why when he pushes me into my room and down on the bed, I say, look, don't you think maybe this isn't so cool? And then he smiles, brushes my hair across my forehead. He tells me that no one understands the way I do who he is and what he's all about. As he kisses my neck and pulls up my dress, and I swear, I said, okay, but no, we are not gonna fuck, because I know I've sort of made myself that girl, but no. As he's fingering me, which is fine, cool, but then he's hands-free. Well, he's pinning my wrists to the paisley sheets, but shit's still going on down there. So he tells me it's gonna be okay, and I say, what the fuck? What the fuck? I swear, I said, I feel like this is gonna sound like one of those goddamn Lifetime movies of the week. All melodramatic, because, well, you probably imagine I cried and struggled and screamed, no. And then afterwards, I crouched in the shower and watched my trail of tears wash down the drain with a river of blood. But it just happens, right? He just fucks me. While I think about burritos and fireflies, because those are things that make me happy. He just fucks me. And then when he's done, he stands up and he zips his pants, and I ask him to stay, which that seems bizarre now, considering, but I guess in the moment I just thought that if he did, maybe it would make what happened he says something about how we, whatever. And then he just stands there, sucking his teeth, looking past me out the window while I lay there with my underwear around my ankles. Don't look at me like that. And I can't reply because I refuse to cry in front of him. He can't stay. He has to go back to the party or something, so he just leaves with a quick click of the door. I just lay there, staring at the ceiling. My underwear is still around my ankles. The room feels smaller, like there's less air, like there will always be less air. And I feel like a hole. Have you ever felt that way? Like a hole? It's the worst fucking feeling in the world. You know, I had this dream that night that I was a guest on Montel or Maury, and the other guest was that woman, the one who's always there, the one who's just a torso, but she leads like a completely normal life. And she enters to like thunderous applause as she rides in on a skateboard, and I look down while she's talking about cooking or a cruise to discover that I am also just a torso. Except I've got everything from the knees down too. There's nothing in between. Next morning, Lowell calls, who's this guy who Devin and I were both tight with, and he's snickering, asking where he disappeared to last night. He says he saw Devin leave my room right before he left. You know, right before he left to go home and fuck his girlfriend. And I say, are you sure? Are you sure he went to Emma's after he left? And Lowell's all, yeah, why? And you know what I mean to say is, oh, no reason. But I spew a string of unintelligible consonants instead. There's silence on the other line. And then Lowell heaves an, oh shit! Did you guys? Silence. My heart starts racing because I don't know what to say. Because if I say yes, then I'm just a fucking slut, end of story. And that's the way it always works, right? And he's snickering again. He's like, so, Lydia. And I want to scream because he keeps saying things twice like he's a fucking little kid who already knows the answer to the question, which is why I can't say no, because he's just going to assume yes anyway. I use it. The R word. It comes out like a burp. Like a big, nasty, loaded burp. Because that's what that word is. Loaded. With a lot of things that are true about that night. Others I'm not so sure about. And my hands are shaking, and I can feel the tears rolling down my cheeks, and I'm trying to control my breathing because I don't want Lowell to hear that I started to hyperventilate, because I hate that this is happening on the phone, like with him, because I never really liked Lowell that much. Well, am I supposed to be mad because he's my boy? And I'm like, I don't know. I don't know what you're supposed to feel. Look, why are you so upset anyway? You fuck everybody. And besides, boys will be boys. What the hell did you expect? Click. Me and Devin don't see each other for a few days. I don't see anyone for a few days. I just stop answering the phone. Skip class. I just sit in my room and smoke cigarettes all day. Because I don't know what to say to anyone, especially him. You know, it's funny how when you find out certain things about someone that you thought were true and they're not true, how the necessity to see them seeps away. That in a perfect world, you would never have to see his face again. But, of course, the world is not perfect, so I run into him anyway. He corners me under an awning and whispers about how drunk he was. I have to understand how exactly drunk he had been that night. And he loves his girlfriend a lot, like a lot. And if she ever found out what happened, well, God, it just wouldn't be fair to her. And he does feel bad about how things went down. And, maybe it would be cool for us to just, put this behind us. He pats me on the shoulder on that last part like you would a little kid. In my head, I had all these really great but my mouth's gone dry, and I'm biting the inside of my lip. That's all I can manage to say is fine. Fine. And he socks me on the shoulder. Like, see you around. And walks away. "10:07. Campus is empty. Class has started. And I am by no means fine. So I go into hiding. Parties and hanging out are kind of pointless when you find out that sometimes friendship is an illusion. So I go to class, I do my homework, which I guess that's what you're supposed to do when you go to college. And it just makes things a little dry without all the rest. But it turns out, my hibernation ended up being a good call, because around the end of the month, it doesn't come. My period. Second worst moment of my life. You keep telling yourself it's because you just ate something weird, or you just exercised too much, or just you didn't get the date right. Even though it comes like fucking clockwork every month, and you pace around your apartment with this burning in your gut, trying to decide if it's even worth voicing this fear, if it's even worth putting it out in the air, or if you should just go on as if nothing out of the ordinary is happening, and then deal with it if a baby arrives in 9 months. Which is fucking ridiculous. So I walk to Bosco Drug. Thank God. Oh, thank fucking God. I don't see anybody I know in that store. And I grab a brush, a bag of chips, a Coke, a copy of Entertainment Weekly, just to make the test look like a little bit less conspicuous, because they have to make them so goddamn large and purple. And of course, the cashier has to do like a price check on the EPT over the loudspeaker, and it echoes like the fucking Grand Canyon. And I'm just trying to act all, nonchalant in line and just page through my magazine as if everyone else behind me in line is so desperate to know if pregnancy tests are $2 off. And then the girl behind me who's buying tampons, of course, looks at me like she is so incredibly glad that she isn't me. And man, do I wish I was her. I wish I was her all the way home. And while I'm pissing on that stick, and while I look at the little window and see the pink plus appear instead of the blue minus. Look, I'll tell you a secret. This is probably the biggest decision I ever had to make. Either way, my life was going to be completely flipped sideways. And it took less time than picking out an outfit for a party. For real. I decided to keep her. Just like that. Took about an hour. I just sat there in the sink, pressing my face to the mirror, and like, you can say what you want, because I know there are a lot of people who would like to make me like the poster child of some pro-life bullshit, but this was not about that at all. No, my shit was much deeper than that. See, I didn't have any fucking plan for my life, or even for after graduation, and all this crazy crap made that worse. I mean, everything was so fucking ridiculous and distant and sad and empty. And like, the thought of having her was the one thing that felt right. It's fucked up, huh? I mean, as far as I was concerned, things couldn't possibly get any worse. I could not handle them getting any worse. So she had to be a sign of something good. You know, maybe this is what I was supposed to be. Because sitting in the sink with nothing but my breath and the possibility of her, I don't know. The space from here to here finally felt full again. So I kept her. No political bullshit involved. Soon after, I go home to visit my parents, and we're driving on the freeway, and my mom says, why don't you talk about that Devin anymore? My dad sniffles and opens the car window, and there's that fucking saying about the fork in the road. You know, you either pick one or the other. And, well, I chose the, something happened with him, Mom, even though I told him not to, at my cocktail party. And I'm like, pregnant, because of it. I swear to God, that's how it came out. And there's a silence, and the engine of the car is whirring, and I thought in that moment, maybe I shouldn't have told the whole truth, even if it was to my parents. And God, more silence. And my dad clears his throat and asks my mom what's for dinner. And that is the end of it. Yeah, not exactly the response I expected, but after that, I figured I should probably tell Devin about the baby. Stared at my phone, but I couldn't bring myself to dial. But of course, though, he corners me in the middle of campus, and he says, I feel so bad. Like, I feel really, really bad about what happened, and you just don't know how hard I've been beating myself up about this. And if Emma ever found out, it would ruin the best relationship that I've ever had. And I interrupt him. Hand shaking, trembling lip, and ask him if he's ever thought for like a second about how I feel. And he cuts me off with yeah, you know, all the time, because I miss being friends with you. And I mean, if there was anything, like anything that I can do to make things better, I will. And I mean, like, anything. Look, I say, we will never be friends again. And I will honestly probably hate you. Maybe forever, but for sure, for a long time. Because you get to go on like everything is normal. I will always have to live with something missing. And the only thing that I want from you is I want the next time you even consider doing this to another girl, even if you're in the moment and you think that, it won't be so bad, you will think of me and how much I hate you and how we will never be friends again. And you will never do this to anyone, ever. And he looks at me with these big brown puppy eyes rimmed with tears. And he shuffles his Timbs, looks at the sidewalk and says, I can't. Yeah, he actually said, I can't. And I feel like I'm drowning, and I shake my head and I walk away, and I never tell him about her because someone like him does not deserve the potential of beauty in his life, ever. God. Sorry. My parents were, obviously they weren't happy about me not telling him, the whole child support thing and whatnot, and keeping the baby, and we fought a lot, which saying that makes it sound like it was all spat, which it wasn't. My mom cried a lot. She kept putting her face in her hands and shaking her head like some bad public service announcement. My dad did too, which I had never seen before. He's usually pretty stoic. His shoulders shook like a little old lady, and he kept mumbling about how much money they had spent on my education. But they let me move back home after graduation, which, is not perfect, but it's cheap. And I don't feel quite comfortable around my dad anymore because, he doesn't feel quite comfortable around me. And my mom, reluctantly, with a large furrow in her brow, made sure I went to the doctor and had enough maternity clothes, as long as I had a job, and promised that I wouldn't be living with them forever. Which, it sounds harsh, but I think parents have these invested opinions on who or what you should turn out to be, and when you don't, they have a harder time of letting go of that idea than you do. Which is not to say that being pregnant was easy, or at all what I expected, because even though there was literally someone inside of me, most of the time I felt lonely, fucking scared, like heart flutters, panic before an exam, just watching my belly get bigger and bigger. Just before she was born, when I was really huge, I stood in front of my mirror, naked, just surrounded by her. Her tiny clothes, tiny toys, her tiny crib next to my twin bed. And I stare at it, my belly, like it's not mine. Like it's been rented out for part of him to take residence in. And I don't even recognize myself in this out-of-body way that's all of the things that I've dealt with pretty well. They're just this big reality right there in the mirror all at once. And permanency of this being the rest of my life was absolutely petrifying. But I mean, clearly it was a little late to be having second thoughts. No, I had to trust that this decision wasn't another mistake. Because, I mean, you can be unsure going into it and freaked out, but there's something about when they put her, Helen, I named her Helen, into my arms, it's like breathtaking, because she's like a person, like this really, really small person who just seconds ago was inside of you, which, God, that seems impossible. I mean, not to say that this moment erases everything that came before it, but it was a beginning. A really good beginning. And now, like, I don't know, like, okay, I was at Water Tower a few months ago, downtown, shopping, and Helen, shit through her snowsuit, which I thought was literally impossible for any child to do, but no, she did. And I had to buy her a new one for like way too much money at Marshall Fields, and I'm cursing in the bathroom because she keeps crying while I'm trying to change her, and I'm embarrassed. I'm tired, and I plop her back in the stroller, and just as we're about to leave the store, we run into Lowell and his girlfriend Alexis. And the irony of that is so fucking obvious. You know, they have a lot of Pier 1 bags because they're decorating an apartment that they just rented together, and they're about to head out to meet some friends at a bar, which is like a concept and a life that I just don't even have time for. And Lowell looks at the baby and he says, "Oh, whose baby?" "She's mine." And he heaves an, "Oh shit!" And I want to smack him for making me feel like no time has passed. "Dude, you got a baby, wow, like with who?" I cut him off. "She's mine. She's just mine." And he is speechless for the first time ever. And then Alexis smiles really genuinely, and she says, "She looks just like you. You should be proud. She's really beautiful." And Helen's like babbling and laughing, and Lowell and Alexis say goodbye, and they walk away, and it's just me and Helen, the world swirling around us. And looking down at her, for whatever half of her that is him, the only part I can see is the whole half that is me. That night, Helen kisses me on the lips while holding my face, which she doesn't do for anyone else. And she falls asleep on my chest, a little bundle of fleece and curls, right here. So it's just me and her together, breathing in the dark. And I am her mommy. Wow. Oh, the good kind of wow. Because Helen has started to make me feel like home. Permanently. And finding that in someone, that's the point. The point of everything.